First thing I'm going to do is to go into pattern, and I am going to select this, and I'm not going to size it here. The reason is if I try to size my circles right here, what's going to happen is it's going to tell me we don't have enough room. So instead of doing that, what I am going to do is just move them. They could be anywhere, but just move them to the middle and then size them both to 9 inches. Now you can see why it wouldn't have let me do this initially, because if I had put them both at 9 inches, they can't both cut 2 9-inch circles. They would overlap. That's okay though. What we are going to do here is we are going to press them both to the far top corner. Any corner would work. We're going to have to go to a corner. Why? Well, we're going to a corner because I want them lined up perfectly. Now, once they're lined up perfectly, it doesn't matter which circle, whichever circle is on top here, I'm going to size down, and look what's going to happen. It's going to make it so that the circle here, and I'm going to size this down to 6.25. What's going to happen here, guys, is absolutely fantastic because it's going to make it perfect. I don't have to eyeball or guess because they were both the same size and then I shrunk one down. We have a perfect wreath, and we could do this in any size we wanted. I did some experiments with scrap paper just to make sure I had the correct size. But once we are good and all set with this, we're going to say okay and go ahead and cut out of our material. Here is my template that I cut out, and I just put it on. I have a super hard, thick piece of cardboard that I want to use that honestly, it's just too hard and too thick for the ScanNCut. So in this situation, what I did was I just made a template. Now, if you were going to make a much smaller one or a lighter weight or, just a less dense cardboard, then you could absolutely use a ScanNCut to cut it out directly. You could also, and I thought of this after the fact, if you have one that's thin enough to slide in, you could also draw your template directly onto your cardboard circle and then cut it out with craft knife, scissors, whatever it is you're using. In my case, you know what, this is great because I'm hanging this on the wall, and for the holidays I love to make these, and I will just keep doing it. So this made my life so much easier. Instead of trying to find 2 different plates that were the right thickness and this and that, this only took a minute, and I've got the template now going. So what I've got here, I've got strips of fabric. I cut them out. They're about 1.5 inches wide. And the first thing we're going to do is just start wrapping around. This is another reason why it's okay if you mark it up. It's okay if it's not perfect. We're going to wrap around a few times here, nice and firmly. Get it started, and once it is started, then take the first bone, set it down, and again, nice and firm. You do not want this loose at all. You don't want it loose. I like to do 2 laps around instead of just 1 for keep it really in there. You don't want it loose at all, because if it's loose, guys, what's going to end up happening is things are going to fall apart. And then you do the next bone. Okay, and it will probably lift up just a bit. That's okay. You're just going to repeat this over and over, around and around. And it's a very forgiving project, you guys. It's a lot of fun, but it's also very forgiving. You don't need to worry too much. Now, when you get to the end, you've got a couple options. I don't like to put any kind of glue because this will be for a doggy. So instead of adding any kind of glue or anything, what I tend to do is wrap around a couple times and tuck underneath. Okay. And just make sure it's firmly tucked underneath. And then start the next strip. But what I will do is start the next strip over the top. So I'll do a full loop around before I really get going. And then again, continue with the doggy treats. Just keep going until you get all the way to the end. When you get to the end, or nearly to it, so you can see I'm at a spot where I could try to wedge 1 more cookie in here if I really want to, or I could leave a gap. I'm going to go with try to wedge another cookie in here because I don't want too big of a gap. And to do that, you're just going to have to kind of wiggle it underneath that very first cookie. And then, of course, use your fabric here to get in there, and you should be able to get underneath there. And I like to go over the original here and then get to a spot on the back where you can tuck it under. You could use some scissors or whatever you've got. You don't want too sharp of a tip or anything, but just something that you can use to poke the fabric end underneath so that it stays. What I love about this is because I just did fabric, okay? We don't have to worry about anything hurting puppy, hurting any dogs or anything like that. It's totally safe, ready to go. And I love it. If I wanted to do more, I could tie a ribbon on here. We could deck it out, or we could just hand it as is over to a hungry group of dogs and they could have a lot of fun with it. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, comments, or requests for future, be sure to let me know. Leave me a comment over on YouTube. I'll see you next time.